Right, let's jump into another deep dive. We're talking Real Madrid. They pulled off a 2-1 win over Villarreal. And yeah, okay, it might just sound like your typical Real Madrid W, but this one's got some twists and turns we need to untangle. Luckily, we've got some top-notch analysis to help us break it all down.
You hit the nail on the head. It's not just about the final score here. Called this match tremendous and important, and I think that's because it kind of reveals some cracks, some potential weaknesses in that Real Madrid facade. Despite the fact that they won, this game brings up some big questions about their chances of staying on top.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. They were seriously outplayed for huge chunks of this match, which you don't really see that very often with Real Madrid. I mean, Villarreal had 23 shots. 23. Real Madrid, only 9. What was going on there?
Okay, so what really caught my eye was how Villarreal approached this tactically. They had this high press, and it was really suffocating. Like, they were all over Real Madrid, disrupting everything they tried to build up. Real Madrid kept turning the ball over in dangerous areas, and that's where those 23 shots came from. Villarreal was winning the ball back and immediately creating chances.
So basically, they were setting the pace, forcing Real Madrid to react.
Exactly. They had Real Madrid on the back foot for a lot of the game, but you know what? They still won. And there's one big reason for that. One name on everyone's mind. Kylian Mbappe.
He's the man of the hour, isn't he?
He was the difference, absolutely. I went so far as to call him the man of the match, and yeah, I gotta agree with him. Both those goals, pure class. That first one, it came from a rebound after his pass to Brahim Diaz. That shows real awareness and quick thinking.
Don't even get me started on that second goal. What a rocket. Right-footed strike, no chance for the keeper whatsoever. But, his performance has kind of sparked this whole debate. Was Mbappe just unleashed because Vinicius Jr. wasn't on the field?
That's the million-dollar question right there. The thing is, without Vinicius Jr. out there, Mbappe had all this space to move around and just dictate the entire attack. Almost like he had this, free pass to do whatever he wanted.
That's an interesting point. But wouldn't that make Real Madrid super predictable? If they're always relying on Mbappe to carry them, won't teams start double-teaming him and shutting him down? They got to have some variety, some other options, right?
You're absolutely right to be concerned about that. And ideally, Real Madrid needs both of those stars, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., at their best. If they can figure that out, that's when they'll really be unstoppable.
Now, before we get too deep into that, can we talk about the elephant in the room, that whole Bellingham-Foyth incident? Some people were saying Bellingham deserved a red card for that challenge.
Well, with that, he thinks Foyth made a meal of it, went down a little too easily. And this is where it gets tricky, right? Referee decisions, they're subjective. Every ref sees things a bit differently. And that adds this layer of unpredictability that just keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, for sure. It wouldn't be football without a little bit of controversy.
Yeah.
But getting back to Real Madrid, it's a bit worrying that they had to rely on individual moments of brilliance to win against a team like Villarreal, right? Yeah. And that's not exactly a recipe for consistent success.
That's the thing. This win, it kind of hides some deeper issues. Can Real Madrid depend on those individual moments of brilliance to save them every single match? Especially when you're up against the big boys in La Liga and the Champions League. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, and speaking of the title race, didn't this win put Real Madrid in first place? At least for a little bit.
They did jump to the top of the table, but hold on, there's a catch. Barcelona was breathing down their necks, and they had this crucial match against Atletico Madrid coming up. Let me tell you, that was a match you did not want to miss.
Oh, man. Things were really heating up in La Liga. So Real Madrid got the win, but not without some shaky moments. What battle?
One thing that really jumped out at me was how much Real Madrid struggled at the beginning and end of each half. They looked so vulnerable in those periods.
That's really interesting. Why do you think that was? Was it fatigue or tactics or something else completely?
I think it was a mix of things. Villarreal came out super strong right from the first whistle, pressing high and really disrupting Real Madrid's flow. You could see the frustration building in the Real Madrid players, especially in those early minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did they finally get back in control of the match? Was it just down to those moments of individual brilliance, or were there tactical changes involved?
Well, there was one key substitution that seemed to shift the momentum. Luka Modric coming on for Dani Ceballos. Remember how we were talking about Villarreal's high press causing all those problems? Well, Modric coming on with his incredible passing range allowed Real Madrid to play around that press so much more effectively.
So it wasn't just about adding some creative spark. It was a tactical change that really helped them take back control. Smart move by the manager.
Exactly. Modric coming on gave Mbappe so much more space to operate. It's no coincidence that his second goal, that absolute rocket of a shot, came after Modric was introduced.
I think this whole match really shows how important it is to have a strong squad, especially in a demanding league like La Liga.
Couldn't agree more. Having players like Modric waiting on the bench, ready to come in and change the game, that's a huge advantage for any team. It gives the manager so many options and lets them adapt to whatever the other team throws at them.
Yeah, and it also highlights the tactical flexibility of Real Madrid. Even when they're not playing their best, they can change things up mid-game and still find ways to win.
Definitely, it's a real testament to their experience and quality. But it also makes you wonder if relying on those last-minute changes and moments of brilliance is really a sustainable strategy in the long run. Can they keep depending on that to bail them out?
It's like they're walking a tightrope, exciting, but definitely risky.
And this brings us back to the whole Mbappe-Vinicius Jr. dynamic. Mbappe really shone in this match, but it does raise questions about how they can both thrive together.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that plays out. On one hand, you have Mbappe, who seems to do best when he has more freedom. On the other hand, you've got Vinicius Jr., who's a force of nature in his own right. Finding the right balance between those two, that's a huge challenge for the manager.
It's a real puzzle and one that could make or break Real Madrid's success down the line. If they can figure out how to unlock the full potential of both Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., well, they'll be unstoppable. But if they can't, it could lead to problems and tactical limitations.
This match against Villarreal was a perfect example of that challenge. You saw moments of brilliance from Mbappe, some tactical adjustments that really worked, and then those shaky periods where they looked very vulnerable.
It's true. It was like a reminder that even the top teams have things they need to work on. It'll be fascinating to see how Real Madrid adapt as the season goes on. At the end of his analysis, asked this really thought-provoking question. He said, "What if Real Madrid has to choose between building their attack around Mbappe or Vinicius Jr.?"
Oh, that's a huge question. I can't imagine either player would be happy taking a back seat.
It would definitely shake things up in Madrid, no doubt about that. But it also shows you how football is constantly evolving. Teams are always looking for that edge, always trying to find the perfect way to play.
And sometimes that means making tough choices, even when it involves star players. It's a high-stakes game, for sure. But enough about tactics and formations for a minute. Let's get back to that La Liga title race. What happened in that crucial Barcelona-Atletico Madrid match? You said it was a must-watch. Let's just say that Barcelona match, it really threw a wrench into the whole La Liga title race. They actually lost 1-0 to Atletico Madrid. No one saw that coming.
I know, right? It was a huge upset, a massive gift for Real Madrid. Suddenly, that win against Villarreal, even though it wasn't pretty, it looks a lot more important. It's those tough, scrappy wins that can make all the difference in a tight race.
It's all about those 3 points. Doesn't matter how you get them.
Exactly. And that's where the mental side of the game comes in, Real Madrid, they showed resilience against Villarreal. They kept fighting even when they weren't playing their best. And that winning mentality, that can really matter down the stretch.
So this deep dive into Real Madrid's win, even with all the ups and downs, it's been really eye-opening. Sometimes it's those wins that don't look so impressive at first glance that actually have the most to tell us.
I totally agree. It's like a microcosm of everything that makes football so complex and interesting. We saw the amazing potential of Mbappe, but also the tactical challenges that Real Madrid needs to solve as a team. And then there are all those big strategic decisions looming on the horizon.
And we can't forget about all the drama unfolding in the La Liga title race. It's been a wild ride so far, with twists and turns at every corner.
That's what, with his final thought, he asked whether Real Madrid might have to make some tough decisions, maybe even rethink some of their player acquisitions, especially if it turns out that Mbappe really does play better without Vinicius Jr. on the field.
Man, that's a tough one. I don't think either player would be too happy about taking a back seat.
Oh yeah, that would definitely cause some drama in Madrid. But it just goes to show that football is constantly changing. Teams are always adapting, always looking for that winning edge.
Yeah, sometimes that means making some hard choices, even if it means benching a star player. It's a high-stakes game, that's for sure. But hey, this deep dive has given you a peek behind the curtain, a chance to see the inner workings of the game. Now it's your turn to put all that knowledge to use. Follow the matches, analyze the tactics, see if you can predict what happens next.
Maybe you'll even be able to outsmart Maldini with your insights, you never know. Just remember, football is all about adapting to change. The teams and the players who can do that best, well, they're the ones who'll be celebrating at the end of the season.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into Real Madrid's victory and everything that comes with it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back soon with another analysis of the beautiful game.
Until next time.